They moved with purpose, each footfall echoing like thunder through the silent, sprawling corridors of the Tarsian Ministry Complex. General Kalen strode at the front, his aide Merrick close behind. The two shared the fluid synchronicity of soldiers who had trained together for decades, one red-cloaked figure of command, the other a shadow in lockstep. A group of merchant species scrambled to flatten themselves against the corridor wall, their many limbs twitching in instinctive fear. Even a passing squad of Carolite archivists veered into a utility closet to avoid the pair. Kalen didn't blame them. The Volcari had always appeared lethal. He caught his own reflection in a polished wall panel, crimson skin taut over a lean, towering frame. His silver hair hung past his shoulders in traditional military fashion, his eyes like twin suns, molten gold with vertical slits for pupils. Every inch of him screamed apex predator. It was a cruel irony, because Volcari weren't warriors, not truly. Their skin tore easily, their bones, light and hollow, broke under minimal stress. Their haunting eyes evolved for nocturnal reading, not stalking prey. Their culture was a tapestry of poetry, music, and philosophy, a pacifist species draped in a predator's form. But appearances mattered. Especially now, behind him, Merrick voiced what many dared not. "Sir, I'm still not sure this is wise." Kalen didn't break stride. "Speak your concern. The beacon is over a century old. The alliance it represents is defunct. Earth has no obligation to help us now." Kalen understood the anxiety. It was not misplaced. The humans had not contacted the Volcari in generations. Diplomatic ties severed after their withdrawal from the Galactic Accord. But Kalen knew something others didn't. Humans had a reputation to protect. A reputation of terrifying loyalty. The Deathworlders didn't abandon allies, even forgotten ones. Not because they were kind, because they were feared. And fear required consistency. Another tremor rattled the building. Dust sifted down from the high vaulted ceiling. Distant echoes of explosions told Kalen all he needed to know. The raids had resumed. Again. Merrick looked up, worry etched on his youthful features. "That's the third one today." "Fourth," Kalen corrected. As they approached the final security checkpoint, they passed rows of government staffers peeking from behind half-open doors. Their yellow eyes flickered with unspoken hope. Rumors traveled fast. They knew the council had approved Earth summoning. They knew Kalen had been chosen to make the call. He stopped briefly and turned to them. "Help is coming," he said. And for a moment, he believed it too. The vault loomed ahead, compartment Alpha 1. The final resting place of the ancient human beacon. Two guards in ceremonial armor flanked the thick composite door. Barely out of adolescence, their red-hued skin still light with youth. As Kalen announced himself and Merrick, the guards hesitated only briefly before activating the biometric scan. The vault hissed open. Inside was a museum of interstellar diplomacy, relics, gifts, tokens from species long gone or now distant. Crystalline sculptures that sang when touched, atmospheric processors. A child's handprint encased in platinum once sent from Earth itself. But at the rear, past all ornament and protocol, stood the object they had come for. A single case. A containment field shimmered faintly around it. The words on its front, "Earth Defense Treaty Access Restricted." Kalen stepped forward. Input the override. The field vanished. The case unlocked with a quiet chime. Inside, nestled on shock foam, sat a small, unimposing device. A matte metal box with one solitary red button. "That's it," Merrick whispered. "It looks like a toaster." Kalen ignored him and reached for the device. It was heavier than expected. Warm, almost alive in his hands. "Do we know what it even does?" Merrick asked. "It summons them," Kalen said simply. "Directly? Ships just arrive?" Kalen allowed himself the faintest of smiles. "No hellgates. It's a comms unit. Nothing more. A tremor shook the vault again. Closer this time. Louder. The pirates were growing bolder. Kalen didn't hesitate. He pressed the button. It clicked softly, depressed, then rose again. Nothing happened. Merrick leaned in. Did it? Hiss. The device shifted in Kellen's hands. Panels unfolded with mechanical elegance. The box unfurled like a blooming steel flower. A tiny screen rose from its center and flickered to life. Establish in sub-ether link. Please wait. Faster than light communication, Merrick whispered. From that little thing? Kalen said nothing. Connection established. Routing 2. Available handler. The screen shimmered. A human appeared. She was middle-aged, with short-cropped hair flecked in gray and sharp, perceptive eyes. Her uniform bore Earth military insignia. This is Handler Sarah Tern, Earth Defense Treaty Division, she said. Her voice, while calm, carried weight. Emergency activation detected from Volcarus? Huh, that's a name I haven't seen in a while. Kellen's hearts beat faster. We acknowledge your activation, she continued, narrowing her eyes. Your species withdrew from our alliances 103 years ago. This beacon should have been destroyed. Merrick visibly paled. Stepped forward. The treaty persists. It was paid in full by our former monarch. We have never invoked it until now. Sarah frowned. Hold. Seconds passed like lifetimes. Then she returned. You're correct. Treaty active. Last verified payment, 103 years ago. Well played, Monarch. Kalen nodded. Our homeworld is under siege. Multiple pirate factions. Civilians are dying. Earth is our last hope. She nodded. Are your colonies affected? Kalen blinked. Colonies? I need to know if this is localized or systemic. If it's a colony, we can evacuate and glass the site. Cheaper, cleaner. But if it's your capital, Kalen recoiled. This is Volcarus, 18 billion civilians, our cradle. Sarah didn't miss a beat. All right. Then it'll require surgical intervention. Boots on the ground. High resource. Operation, but doable. Kalen swallowed. What are the terms? 1 week, Sarah said. You'll liaise directly with our admiral. Oversight granted. No interruptions. Once we begin, we finish. Entirely. No prisoners unless we decide. Otherwise. Kalen felt the weight of her words press down like a storm cloud. Still, he nodded. We accept. The screen went dark. The device folded itself shut. Merrick blinked. Wait, that's it. Are they coming? When? How will we know? Kalen stared down at the silent box. I don't know, he said. But we've called them. The Deathworlders are coming. It had only been 3 days. 3 days since Kalen pressed the red button, and already the impossible had arrived above Volcarus. The sky was filled with unfamiliar stars that moved with terrifying precision. Humanity had come. Now, General. Kalen and his aide Merrick were being escorted through the corridors of a ship so large it felt like walking through a city. The EDS Resolute Earth's flagship was a monument to function. Stark gray walls, seamless flooring, and the distant hum of energy running through the hull. No banners, no aesthetics. Just power, humming through steel veins. Their escorts were 2 human soldiers, young, confident, bored. Bridge is just ahead, one said, barely turning his head. He looked no older than 30 standard years, his stride easy, his weapon holstered with casual disdain. The kind of confidence only someone born into overwhelming superiority could possess. Merrick, still dressed in ceremonial robes, fidgeted nervously. Kalen had chosen his most formal regalia for the meeting, but already he regretted it. Their appearance polished. Traditional, dignified felt hollow amid the brutal functionality of the human ship. Every meter of corridor screamed quiet violence. The kind that didn't need to boast. The bridge doors slid open. Kalen stepped into what should have been the heart of a war machine. Instead, it looked like a lounge. Crew lounged at their stations. One had her feet up on a console, sipping something from a tin mug. Another played a card game on his screen. Music, something rhythmic and human, thumped softly in the background. It was relaxed. At the viewport stood a man. He didn't turn when they entered. He simply watched, a glass of amber liquid swirling in one hand. The viewport showed what was left of space. Pirate debris drifted like glimmering ash across the stars. "Admiral Vance," the escort announced. "Guests are here." The man turned. He looked unremarkable. Human average height, late middle age, salt and pepper hair, a small belly beneath. His unbuttoned jacket, a stain likely from a recent meal, decorated his shirt. He looked more like a tired university professor than the commander of a galactic assault fleet. "Ah, General Kalen, welcome aboard the Resolute," Admiral Vance said cheerfully. "And Marek, yes? Good to have you both. Can I offer you drink? The whiskey is proper Earth-made, none of that synthetic stuff." Kalen blinked. "Admiral, I thank you, but we should perhaps discuss the operation." Vance shrugged and sipped from his glass. "Not much to discuss, really. We're wrapping up orbital combat. Let's see." He turned toward a crew member with purple hair. "Lena, what's our count?" "Down to 12, sir," Lena replied, not looking up. "Rest are trying to hide behind the second moon. Team Omega's herding them into a kill zone." "Good," Vance said, nodding. "See, nearly done. The ground forces deployed about 20 minutes ago. That'll be a mess, of course. Urban environments always are. Give it 3 days." Kalen felt his world shift underfoot. "You've already deployed?" Vance raised his eyebrows. "Of course, we don't wait around. Your signal was clear. We respond." Marek found his voice. "But 302 ships? That's not a raid. That's an occupation." Vance took another sip of whiskey. "And now it's a memory." The nonchalance, the ease. Kalen felt his stomach churn. "How can you speak so casually? This is war, death, cities burned, lives lost." "Garbage disposal," Vance replied with a chuckle. "Not war. War is what we fight against civilizations that can punch back. This is pest control." He stepped toward his command chair but didn't sit. Instead, he leaned against it, letting the silence hang. "Let me explain something, General," he said. "Humans don't do proportional response. We never have. Someone asks for help, we bring the hammer. Fast, overwhelming, unforgiving. Ends the problem before it spreads." Kalen struggled. Surely there are rules of engagement?" Vance nodded to his crew. "Show them." The main screen shifted. Suddenly, Kalen was looking at his homeworld again, but not from space. Multiple panels showed the surface of Volcaris. He recognized the regions, the jungles of Arakai, the ruined capital zones, the mountain passes now infested with pirate strongholds. In each panel, humanity moved. No, not moved. Advanced, human soldiers in bulky armor strolled through enemy positions, as if walking through a park. Plasma bolts sparked harmlessly off their shielding. Some soldiers were laughing. One took a bite from what looked like a sandwich between volleys of weapon fire. The pirates' varied species, desperate and wild, were rooted, slaughtered, gassed out of tunnels, cornered in alleyways, overrun in seconds. The humans didn't sprint. They didn't take cover. They didn't need to. Kalen watched a soldier tag a building with a beacon after exterminating its occupants, then calmly move on to the next. "This is not war," Marek whispered. "It's execution." "Correct," Vance said. "You called us to end the threat. This is how we do that." Kalen's stomach rebelled. He lurched forward, choking down bile, but failed. His ceremonial boots darkened with the remnants of his breakfast. A moment later, Marek joined him. Someone muttered, "Damn, should have warned them about the footage." A soft beep. A cleaning bot rolled into place. Vance waved a hand. "Get them some water." Kalen wiped his mouth. His hands trembled. Still, he stared at the screen. "How can you laugh?" he asked. "How can you do this without flinching?" Vance's expression hardened for the first time. "Because mercy failed you," he said. "Your people died because you believed in restraint. You asked for help. And we came. But you didn't ask the monks. You asked the Deathworlders." Kalen shook his head. "What about justice?" "This is justice," Vance said. "Swift. Final. Every pirate we kill here is one who won't kill again. You think trials would fix this? Imprisonment? Appeals? Those things don't work on people who raid schools and bomb shelters." Merrick whispered, "We thought you were better than this." "No," Vance replied. "You thought we were like you. That was your mistake." The screen showed another outpost falling. Another pirate nest gone. Reduced to burning wreckage. And yet, in the pit of Kellen's soul, something stirred. A bitter, unwanted recognition. He'd seen too many corpses. Heard too many screams. Watched too many parents dig through rubble. And when he looked up at the screens, he didn't see cruelty. He saw vengeance. "You're right," he said at last. "They made this choice. They thought we were weak. They thought we would break." Vance raised his glass. "To the ones who don't." The bridge fell into an uneasy silence. On the main display, the operation continued. Vulcarus was being scoured clean of its tormentors with precision only humanity could deliver. Kalen stared, trying to reconcile what he was seeing with what he had believed. This wasn't just a battle, it was a purge. A calculated, merciless reckoning. "How long will this continue?" he asked. Admiral Vance tapped something on a nearby console. 3 more days for full ground clearance. A couple more for verification sweeps. Let's call it a week, just like we promised." Kalen exhaled, but it didn't feel like relief. "What do we owe you for this?" Vance smiled. "Nothing. Your monarch paid in advance. Treaties honored. Contracts fulfilled. Honestly, this came at a good time. The troops needed live fire training. Pirate suppression is excellent for morale." Kalen blinked. "This is a training exercise?" The Admiral shrugged. "You said it yourself. 302 pirate vessels, dozens of species, entrenched across a populated world. A perfect simulation for planetary combat operations." Kalen exchanged a glance with Merrick. The aide looked pale and numb, his hands clenched tightly at his sides. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing to say. The display shifted again, now showing the plains outside Tyros, once a refugee zone. Human troops advanced through makeshift barricades, cutting down pirates in synchronized movements. Drones hovered above, marking escape routes and dispatching stragglers. One squad used a weapon Kalen didn't recognize. It pulsed once, and an entire enemy bunker simply collapsed inward, as if folded by invisible hands. Merrick flinched. That weapon, it bends space. Vance nodded. Compact spatial disruption charge. Not cost-efficient, but dramatic. Sends a message. What message? Kalen whispered, that we're done playing. He turned away from the screen, sipping from his glass. "Let me ask you something, General. How long did your people tolerate this? The raids, the kidnappings, the markets filled with Valkyrie slaves." Callan's voice was quiet. "Too long. And why?" "Because we believed that civility and diplomacy could resolve anything." Vance's gaze hardened. "And how did that work out?" Kalen had no answer. "I'll tell you how it worked out," the Admiral continued. "Your cities burned. Your children were taken. Your peace was shattered because monsters saw you and thought, easy prey. And when you ran out of options, you remembered the ones you'd tried to forget." Kalen looked down at his hands, still trembling faintly. "You call yourselves Deathworlders. Why? Because we come from a world that tried to kill us. Every day, Vance said simply. You evolved to look dangerous so others would leave you alone. We evolved to look harmless, while becoming the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Merrick finally looked up, eyes glassy. But you're not like us, you're not kind, Vance laughed softly. We can be kind, we can be gentle. We love music, art, we have poets, philosophers, lovers. But when you call us into war, when you summon us through an emergency beacon centuries old and ask us to save your world, you don't get the philosophers. He gestured back at the display, where another pirate nest was being raised by orbital strikes. You get this. You get humanity unleashed. Kalen studied the image of destruction. The precision was terrifying. The devastation complete, and yet, the civilians of Vulcarus were safe. The shelters had held. The hospitals were untouched. The humans had prioritized saving lives while exterminating threats. It wasn't random chaos. It was controlled, calculated, intentional, double quotes. This isn't justice, Merrick murmured. No, Vance said. This is retribution. Justice is for courts and laws and peace. This is what happens when you wake something that was meant to sleep. A comms officer turned in her chair. Sir, another pirate fleet attempting to jump into orbit. 73 ships, probably reinforcements. Vance nodded. Dispatch interceptor wings Alpha through Delta. Do not engage until they've cleared the gravity well. I want them to understand, just for a moment, how big their mistake is. The officer smiled. Yes, sir. Kalen shivered. They'll be gone in minutes, Vance said, turning back to him. But don't mistake this for cruelty. We don't revel in this. We just don't hesitate. The Admiral placed his glass down. You called us, he said. You pressed that button, and now we are here. Kalen took a breath. The full weight of what he had done settled on him again. I thought we were summoning hope, he said. Quietly, you did, Vance replied. But hope doesn't always wear a gentle face. On the display, the reinforcements dropped out of warp. They didn't even have time to maneuver. The human fleet carved through them in synchronized precision. A dance of annihilation. Kelen watched, unblinking. The fire blossomed in silence. Merrick gripped the edge of a console to stay upright. I wish there had been another way, Kalen said. There always is, Vance replied. But this is the one that works. Kalen didn't know if he agreed. But as he watched the skies, above his homeworld clear, the screaming silence that had haunted him for years finally began to fade. The Deathworlders had answered the call, and they weren't finished yet. 3 more days passed. The war, or what the humans loosely referred to as the operation, was almost over. General Kalen stood on the command deck of the Resolute, overlooking the final stages of cleanup. Human forces had moved across Vulcarus. Like a divine storm, sparing no outpost, no den, no hidden tunnel system. Entire pirate factions had ceased to exist. Scattered transmissions begged for mercy. None were answered. Merrick stood beside him, visibly thinner, worn by the emotional strain. His voice, when he spoke, was almost too quiet to hear. It's over, Kalen nodded. For us, for now. On the display, another pirate holdout was vaporized from orbit. A clean strike. No collateral. The human fleet had mapped every pirate hideout within the first day. Ground troops cleared the rest with machine-like efficiency. They hadn't lost a single soldier, not one. Admiral Vance strolled onto the deck, stretching as if waking from a nap. Told you it'd be a week. We'll be wrapped up by sunset. Kalen turned to him. You've done more in 7 days then. We managed in 7 years. We've had practice, Vance said. You're not the first species to call us in. Kalen hesitated, then asked the question he'd been avoiding. How many others? Vance considered. 8, 9 if you count the Tresh Confederacy. Their distress signal bounced off a black hole before reaching us, so the timing was awkward. But yes, 9 worlds summoned us. 9 worlds were saved. Kalen looked at the man, this average middle-aged human who had brought planetary annihilation. Like it was a routine task. And what happened after? Depends, Vance replied. Some worlds rejoined the galactic community with a renewed sense of security. Others changed. When you see how humans wage war, it shifts your sense of scale. Kalen understood. He had seen soldiers who walked into enemy fire without flinching. Drones that mapped entire cities in minutes. Weapons that bent space like paper. And above it all, the certainty, that absolute unshakable human certainty, that nothing could stop them once they began. He had watched pirates surrender, only to be ignored. Watched mercenaries scream for deals, only to be burned from orbit. There had been no mercy, no clemency, only efficiency. And now Volkerus was quiet. For the first time in decades, no sirens rang. No ships breached their skies. Children emerged from shelters into sunlight instead of rubble. We've begun prepping departure protocols, Vance said, sipping from a new glass of whiskey. You'll want to sweep the ruins. Some pirate tech might be salvageable. Oh. And our engineers left a few monitoring satellites. Just in case. Kalen nodded. What do we owe you for all of this? Still nothing, Vance replied. That old monarch of yours, visionary type, paid in full. Even left a clause for excessive force, which I found amusing. Merrick blinked. He anticipated this. Vance chuckled. He didn't anticipate anything. He just didn't trust galactic politics. Smart move. Never rely on committees when you can hire the monsters directly. Kalen stepped forward. Admiral, may I ask? Why are you like this? Vance raised an eyebrow. Like what? So capable. So terrifying. You could have built anything. With your power empire's colonies, hegemony. But instead, you wait, silent, then respond with extinction. Vance leaned on the railing, gazing at the slowly turning planet below. We don't want an empire, General. Empires rot. They attract resistance, make enemies. We don't need to rule. We just need to be remembered. Kalen frowned. Feared. You mean? No, Vance said, turning to face him. Respected. Sometimes that looks like fear. But mostly, it looks like never being crossed. Merrick whispered, but your technology, your strength, why not spread it freely? Uplift the galaxy, we tried, Vance said. Once, early in our expansion. We shared medicine, clean energy, planetary engineering protocols. Want to know what happened? Kalen didn't answer. Others used them as weapons, Vance continued. Biomanipulation. Engineered plagues. One species tried to terraform their enemy's homeworld mid-war. Killed 5 billion civilians in less than a day, using our tech. Silence. That was the day we stopped sharing. From then on, we became what we are now: selective, reactive, violent only by request. And very, very clear about what happens when we're summoned. Kalen watched the clouds swirl over Volkerus. I understand now. You're not monsters. Vance raised his glass. We're professionals. They stood together for a while, watching the planet spin. The stars beyond seemed brighter. Calmer. Then, softly, Kalen said, Thank you for your kindness. Don't mention it, Vance replied. Seriously. Don't. We have a reputation to maintain. Behind them, another console beeped. Final clearance achieved. Pirates eliminated. Threat level null. Kalen looked up at the display. The horror of the last week played back in his memory like a storm caught in a bottle. Destruction, precision, annihilation. But under it all, something else had emerged. Peace. Real peace. Not born of treaties or promises or shared songs, but forged in fire, enforced by a species that had evolved on a world built to kill. Deathworlders. Their name was not poetic. It was a warning. And now that warning had been carved into the annals of Volcarus forever. As the Resolute prepared to depart, Kalen turned one last time toward the Admiral. "If we ever need you again, will you answer?" Vance met his gaze. "You only get one summoning, General. Use it wisely." He raised his glass in farewell. Kalen nodded in return, and the Deathworlders vanished into the stars.